Gary Krupp, K-R-U-P-P. I'm the president and founder of the Pave the Way Foundation with my wife, Meredith Krupp. Well, Pave the Way Foundation is an unusual organization, probably one of the most successful organizations in the world that nobody has ever heard of, because we work quietly behind the scenes. We talk to people who will not talk to each other. And we do so by creating a relationship with usually the heads of major religions. And we do it through gestures. We'll establish a fantastic gesture, and that gives us a level of trust. And because of that, we can then go act on an obstacle or a problem, and we work to eliminate those problems and obstacles. My wife Meredith and I have had the incredible privilege of getting to meet St. John Paul II, first in 1991, then again in 1998, and then again in 2000, right after the World Trade Center. And then we had the final audience with His Holiness, and it was a Jewish audience, 168 Jewish leaders from around the world, a private audience, in 2005, January 18th, 2005. And sadly, that was his last audience, his last major audience. He unfortunately had an audience with some British kids. He caught the flu, and he never recovered from that. And he died in April of that year. In 2005, I made a request of the Secretary of State that I said that we would like to thank Pope John Paul II for what he's done for the Jewish people and for the state of Israel, which was quite remarkable. He was the first pope to visit a synagogue in many centuries. He established diplomatic relations and normalizing relations with the state of Israel. He also made many declarations against anti-Semitism and how it is a sin in the Catholic Church, and he referred to us as his beloved elder brothers.
Your Holiness, we are a group of people who represent a cross-section of Judaism, who've traveled here with the blessings of millions of our faith in order to thank you. Soon after your ascension to the throne of St. Peter, you made a telling trip to Auschwitz in order to pay homage to the victims of the Holocaust. You have defended Jewish people at every opportunity. As a priest in Poland and during your 26-year pontificate, you have denounced anti-Semitism as a sin against God and humanity. This tone of reconciliation has been a cornerstone of your papacy and its relations with the Jewish people. On April 13th, 1986, you became the first pope since St. Peter to visit a synagogue. Upon presenting his credentials to you June 2003, Israeli Ambassador Oded Ben-Hur expressed this enormous gesture best when he said that on that day you took upon your shoulders the 2,000-year-old church back to the first century in Capernaum, the first century synagogue of Capernaum, where Jesus used to pray, thus closing an historic circle. You moved the Holy See to initiate the process of normalizing of diplomatic relations with the state of Israel in 1992, the beloved biblical homeland of the Jewish people, symbolically acknowledging the existence of Eretz Yisrael yesterday, today, and forever. Your pilgrimage to Israel and the Holy Land, May 21st, 2000, was immortalized in the hearts and the minds of the Jewish people around the world when you placed your prayer for forgiveness in the Western Wall. Your solemn remarks during your visit to the Hall of Remembrance, Yad Vashem, profoundly moved us and touched our hearts. It's impossible to describe the emotional impact these milestones have had on Jews worldwide. Your Holiness, these reconciliatory acts have in fact been a hallmark of your pontificate, as you've also tried to repair the ancient rifts in all of the religions of the world. The Jewish ethics of the fathers beautifully captures in verse the love you have exhibited for all humanity. Rabbi Hillel said, "Be among the disciples of Aaron, by being a lover of peace, a pursuer of peace, a lover of all humanity, and bring them closer to religion. For your acts of love and of all humankind, and your implacable pursuit of peace and reconciliation of all the faiths, your holiness truly is the personification of these ideals and spirit of Aaron, the high priest of ancient Israel. In closing, you've referred to us as the children of Abraham as your beloved elder brothers. My prayerful wish is that Jews, Christians, and Muslims, the three children of Abraham, may soon bond together in one common cause and voice to defend all humanity against those who defame God by committing wanton acts of terror and violence in His holy name. Your Holiness, thank you, thank you, thank you. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
And so we had this wonderful, wonderful event, which is on our website. You can see it. You can see my speech to the Pope and his response, which was as clear as day, back to us. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful historic event. The Vatican even said, they said that there's never been as large a private audience with a Pope, Jewish audience, in the history of the Church. I joked with them and I said, well, in Judaism, there's never been a Reform, Orthodox, and Conservative rabbi in the same room to do the same thing. Also historic. But it was a fantastic day. And it was in January 18th, 2005. And in Rome, it's 72 degrees, sunshine. It was fantastic. Happily, I had my friend Bishop William Murphy help me with my speech, because I had to deliver a speech thanking the Pope for all he has done, and we did and worked on that for quite a while, and it was just a memorable day. The speech, I think, will be played, so I think that'll be remarkable. And then the Pope's response to us, which it meant a lot to him. In fact, I had 3 rabbis in the papal palace. It was in Sala Clementina, blessing the Pope in Hebrew, and he started to cry. It was unbelievable, the most touching experience. And that's what I said. And the fact is that his secretary, now Cardinal Jewish, if you look at his coat of arms, he has a Star of David in his coat of arms. It's remarkable. We're one family. We're one religion. We all believe in God. The way we pray, customs and so on may vary between Islam and Judaism and Christianity, but we're doing the same thing with the same higher authority. And this is the important part of what Pave the Way does. We recognize that we don't want the differences to separate us. Embrace our similarities, savor our differences. And that's our slogan.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, with affection, I greet the members of the Pave the Way Foundation on your visit to the Vatican. And I thank Mr. Krug for the kind words which he has addressed to me on your behalf. This year, we will be celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Second Vatican Council's Declaration Nostra Aetate, which has significantly contributed to the strengthening of Jewish-Catholic dialogue. May this be an occasion for renewed commitment to increase understanding and cooperation in the service of building a world ever more firmly based on respect for the divine image in every human week upon all of you. I invoke the abundant blessings of the Almighty, and in particular the gift of peace. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom, shalom. Thank you very much.
Pope John Paul II's response was clear as day, and he was thanking all of us for what we've done. He thanked me personally for my remarks to him, and he ended his speech with Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, which is, and all the rabbis you saw, all of a sudden you see them smiling about that. It was just a fantastic event. And understand that one of the reason that this is so important is that Pope John Paul II had a Jewish friend growing up, Jerzy Kluger, who was on our board of directors in Italy, in Rome. Jerzy Kluger grew up, and he tells a story, and I wanted to tell you, these are stories that many people not be aware of, but when Jerzy was they were in high school, or junior high school, and they would, in Poland, they would post the grades on the school. They'd go and see it, and so one day, Jerzy goes to the junior high school and sees his grades. He sees that he and Lalik, or Carol Wojtyła, graduated, and they were going on to high school. He got very excited. So he runs up to his father's house in Wadowice, and he said, where's Lalik? Where is he? He says he's serving Mass, and his house, we've been there, his house is right next door to the church. He's serving Mass. So Kluger ran into the church, and all of a sudden, Pope sees him. He says, sit down, right? And all of a sudden, some woman walks over to him. He says, aren't you Dr. Kluger's son? He says, yes, I am. He says, well, you're Jewish. You don't belong in here. So she walks away. After the Mass was over, Carol Wojtyła goes over to Kluger. She says, what did that woman say to you? He says, she says, I'm Jewish. I don't belong here. He says, how stupid. Doesn't she know we're all children of the same God? This is a 14-year-old kid. Another situation that occurred, which was unbelievable, was one of my friends was the Apostolic Nuncio to Israel, Archbishop Sambi. Pietro Sambi has passed away, unfortunately. We lost him. He was also the Nuncio of the United States later on. And I was having dinner with him in Jerusalem with my wife. And he said to me, when I went in to see the Pope, he always calls his delegates in and has a talk with them before they get assigned. He says to me, do you love the Jewish people? Oh, Holy Father, he said, I'm a diplomat. I have to be impartial. I have to be. He said, do you love the Jewish people? Oh, Holy Father, how would I react to such a thing? Do you love the Jewish people? Ask them 3 times. And he says, if you ask me in my heart, I truly love the Jewish people. So he said, you can be my nuncio in Israel. And he told me that story that, is quite remarkable. But the effect of this Pope with Jewish-Catholic relations was absolutely remarkable, as it was with all the historic things he did. And it's a shame, sadly, today, because in Poland, a lot of people blame Poland for the Holocaust and the atrocities committed against the Jewish people, when in fact there was a United Nations declaration, 1957, where it said that Poland was made the slaughterhouse by the Nazi invaders. The Polish people had nothing to do with this. They were punished. And in fact, if you go to Yad Vashem, you go to the Garden of the Righteous and Polish Catholics, thousands of them had risked their lives to save Jews. And it's very, very sad today. The people like to assign blame when they have, these are ignorant people. These are people misinformed. They have no idea what really happened in those terrible years. And so it's a privilege for me to address this group. It's something that means a lot to me. I love Poland. We had a wonderful visit there. We went with Pope Benedict on his first trip. His first trip when he was elected Pope. So Meredith and I and our directors from Pave the Way Foundation went to Poland with him. And we had a fantastic, I welcomed him with Jerzy Kluger into the house of John Paul II. So it was just an incredible experience. And the fact that Pope John Paul II gave me the incredible privilege, knighted me to the Order of St. Gregory the Great 23 years ago, in 2000, that changed the entire course of my life. In those years, I was in the medical business, and we built houses and stuff like that. Because of that now, as a Jewish member of the papal household, I'm now bridging religions. And because of that, everything we did, we created Pave the Way Foundation. One of our friends that we brought, I made a request. I'd like to bring a delegation of Jewish leaders to the Vatican Library to see the most important writings in Judaism. Absolutely, and we brought it changed the course, and because it was so wonderful the way we were so well treated, it changed the course of my life. And I was 53 years of age now, so it's a long time ago. But it did change, and it was all due to His Holiness Saint John Paul II. And funny, I made a speech when I was in Poland, and Jerzy Kluger's screaming at me, "You don't know how to pronounce it." I said, "I don't speak Polish," but I kept saying on the radio, I said, I cannot wait for the day that we can say Święty Jan Paweł II, which was Saint John Paul II. This is prior to his canonization. But it was just an incredible experience being with him. We presented him, the New York City Fire Department in 2001 asked me to give a section. They took the last beam out of the World Trade Center and they cut a cross out of it. I presented that to him in Rome. And we just had, and then of course we got to meet him with, here at St. Agnes, Monsignor Edward Melton, for his 80th birthday. We brought him to the Vatican to meet the Pope as a gift. He was a very close friend. That was 1991, I think, or something. And we brought him for his 80th birthday, and he met the Pope. So it's just, I cannot tell you how lucky we are with the relationship we have. And because of the relationship we have with the Catholic Church, it has helped us enormously with the Islamic world and the Muslims and the Protestants and the Anglican Church and the Greek Orthodox Church. Is what we work in each of these faiths, all of the different faiths. So it's quite a privilege, and it was all started by St. John Paul II. One of the universities decided to do this wonderful event of all of these things, and they created the Museum of Jewish Heritage, and so Paved the Way Foundation with my chairman, Elliot Hirschberg, and Richard Kandel, and so on. We actually financed bringing it to New York, and we had an exhibit at the Museum of Jewish Heritage in New York. And we brought Kluge, came to the United States, and some of the other people from that period of time. So it was just a fantastic event, and it's Pope John Paul II and the Jewish people, a blessing to one another. That's what the subject was. Well, I was quite honored at that time. Archbishop Migliori, who was the nuncio of the United States, attended, and Bishop Murphy was there. Was an old dear friend, and Governor Pataki came, and of course the museum staff, and then we had Jerzy there. So it was just a very, very important event. It was packed. We had just a wonderful thing, and we exhibited the event. And the funny thing, is that they honored in that museum, just coincidentally, they have a hallway of all the Jewish officers and the military who served during the Second World War. And in my family, we had all of my father and all my uncles. We had 5 all in uniform, 1943, before they went over to Europe. And my father actually was a tank commander with General Patton and liberated Buchenwald and Woodruff concentration camps, and took pictures of it. And the sad part, is that the Catholic Church was being attacked by Hitler right after the Jews. First the Jews, and actually 1/3 of the Catholic clergy of Poland, nuns and priests, were killed in Dachau. And so the Polish government, the Polish people suffered just as much. And the fact is that we should have a great deal of gratitude to them for the people that risked their lives to save Jewish lives during that terrible time of history. And this is a fact, but a lot of people sometimes they just don't want to acknowledge it. And they don't, it's more convenient if you're trying to have a little hidden agenda you want to push. Let's say this, but the fact is the Polish people were victimized. And as I said, they were the slaughterhouse of the Nazi invaders. So Polish people didn't set up all the concentration, the Nazis did. And so this is something I apologize for anybody that may be offended by the fact that people have ever suggested that the Polish people had anything to do with it. And of course, we always have extremes in religion, but it's a very, very important fact. His actions during the war were also well known. He was ordained secretly. And the fact is that, when I actually the reason I was knighted by him was that I worked for 18 years to help the hospital of St. Padre Pio in San Giovanni Rotondo. And that's why I received this incredible honor. But the amazing thing was that in 1947, Padre Pio was denied was now allowed to say Mass. The Vatican stopped him when they stopped. And the funny thing is that John Paul, as a young priest, met Padre Pio. Padre Pio said, "One day you will be the head of the Catholic Church." He predicted it. This is documented. You know, stuff like this, you have to say, is quite remarkable. So as I said, it was the most incredible privilege. And as I pointed out to my friends many times, I said, you know, man proposes and God disposes. So sometimes things happen in your life you don't expect them to happen. And that's what happened with Meredith and me. Our whole life changed. And it's the best thing that's ever happened. Something I'm very proud of and very happy to talk about. And I'm so thrilled about this wonderful symposium that's being held in the Royal Palace in Poland. I'm only sorry I can't be there. The one thing was that, and my wife even pointed out, it's something that she talks about all the time. She came, we're Jewish, this is the Pope and so on. But when the Pope came over to us and he put his hand on her shoulder, she said, "I was in the presence of a holy man." It changed her. And in fact, when we had the audience, the Jewish audience, same exact thing happened. 168 rabbis, cantors, Jewish leaders from around the world, they were all jubilant and happy and jumping around, making noise, singing songs before we went into the Papal Palace. We had 9 little buses getting ready to take them out. Everyone, when we came out of that palace, everyone was dead silent. Not only that, because of John Paul, because of that holiness and because of that spirit he had and he gave to people, he met every single person in the room. I stood next to him and introduced him to every single person in the room. In the Orthodox Jewish world, typically they don't have too many conversations with other religions. An Orthodox rabbi was the chief rabbi of Efrat in Israel. He was with us. Because of that event, he created the first institute of Jewish Christian study in Efrat, Israel. And every one of the rabbis, everybody was impacted by this. Friends of ours, they said to my wife, friends of ours, she said, "Now I understand what happened to you," because she would say, I couldn't believe, and it was an aura that he had. And everybody who knew him felt that, including his old friend as a little boy. Imagine a 14-year-old boy saying something that, doesn't she know we're all children of the same God? That's the thing that we deal with, is that the similarities rather than the differences. Everybody, you can go to masses in the Greek church, in the Anglican church. You can go to the evangelical and the Catholic church. You have different ceremonial differences and different objects and everything. But you're doing the same thing. We go to synagogue. We're going to a mosque. Understand something. When religion collectively is attacked, this is an agenda to remove morality from these generations of kids, because you either get the morality from your parents, and if you attack the nuclear family, or you get morality from religion. And when you've removed those two things, you have anarchy. You have kids that are breaking into stores and shoplifting and doing all kinds of things. And this is a very serious problem that we need to address today. And this is very, very important. These are special, international famous stars. They're fantastic people. And so, of course, if you're meeting somebody like that, you're always excited about it. But then all of a sudden, there's a sense of, this is something different. This is holy. This is, and you meet holy people. You meet holy rabbis and imams and ministers, and there are some that are incredibly holy. Today is the feast day of Kolbe, who was a Polish priest and who actually sacrificed his life and martyred himself to save a Jewish man. He volunteered to die in his place, Maximilian Kolbe. This was a Polish minister, a Lutheran minister. But it shows you that these people are holy and they exist. But you have to grasp them, and come to recognize them and not criticize them or do anything like this. And this is something that we tend to do, and my wife and I always talk about quite honestly, is that, sometimes we meet people, and some of them are priests, and some of them are, I can't even imagine this guy saying Mass. But then all of a sudden he says, this guy is incredibly holy. And we have that. There are personalities. This is human nature. You have bad people and good people, but you don't condemn a group because of the actions of a few. And this is very, very, very important. Because most people, certainly who go into the priesthood, are making a major sacrifice in their life, and they're, you know, we always find them the smartest people we know. They speak multiple languages, and they're just, and you know, they get a special calling. And some of them have different reasons, but the point is that, you know, we cherish our friends who are Catholic priests, and we have a number of them who are very, very close with them. I want to thank you for inviting me to attend via video to this most important conference to commemorate this fantastic living legend who we've lost, who's now with God, and this is just a wonderful privilege. Thank you so much for inviting me to address your group. Thank you. I want to thank this wonderful symposium for inviting me to address you via video, unfortunately, but I wish I could have been there in person, but this is an incredible tribute to a saintly man who changed the course of my life personally. Thank you so much.